Hi, so today I'm going to be summarizing the documentary An Unreal Dream, the Michael Morton case. So, the trial. So, Christine Morton was killed on August 13th, 1986. She died from multiple blows to the head. Michael Morton, her husband, was the main and only suspect that they ever had, and the motive behind him killing her was that Michael killed Christine because he was in a rage because she wouldn't have sex with him on his birthday. And Michael Morton was sentenced to life in prison. So the main issues at the trial. So there was multiple issues at the trial, and a lot of this information came well after, but the main issues were that the 3-year-old son did witness the murder, and when Eric was asked to describe who the perpetrator was, he described someone that looked nothing like his father. He said it was a big man with a big mustache, which obviously did not look like Michael Morton. And it was a wooden instrument that killed Christine, but there was never any weapon found. And when they asked Eric, was the dad there, why the crime took place, he said no. It wasn't until 2008 that Michael and his lawyers even learned about this eyewitness testimony and the description given by the son. And a check was also illegally forged in Christine's name after her death, and her credit card was also stolen and used too. And all these facts were never presented in the trial because the district attorney withheld these claims intentionally. So what went wrong? So I believe what went wrong was obviously that evidence and eyewitness testimony that would have really helped the defense's side and probably kept Michael Morton out of jail for 25 years was withheld from the prosecution, the judge, and the jury. There was also no DNA evidence or hard scientific evidence that was ever presented at the trial, and there was no weapon ever found. The whole trial was really a lot of speculation and the fact that he was the only witness that they ever had. I'm sorry, not witness, the only suspect they ever had. So if I was the prosecutor, if I was Ken Anderson, I would have tried a lot harder to prove my case with actual hard evidence instead of, creating this false narrative and only really winning this trial because my story was more believable to the jury even without evidence. And I wouldn't have withheld information just to make sure I would have won. Ken Anderson locked up a man for 25 years because he was too quick to convict because he wanted to make himself, look good. He wanted to say we got the guy, prove his case. A lot of times I feel like people think it's easy to suspect the husband right away because, they live with them. They did have a little, not argument even, I would say, because she fell asleep the night before. But, there was a note that he left, whatever. So he was really quick to kind of say, this is our guy. And I also would not have taken, the easy way out because in the end, karma kind of came back around and Ken Anderson lost his license to practice and he ended up spending 10 days in jail, which definitely, in my opinion, was not enough for what he did, but he did at least see the inside of a jail cell. And if I was the defense, I would have tried to make the point a lot maybe stronger that there was no murder weapon ever found. There was no real murder. It was all speculation. It was them saying, this is what Michael Morton did. Michael Morton took a weapon and beat the wife. It was all just, a made-up story, and they really had no context to that. He was also the only suspect, and they were very quick to convict, like I said. There was no hard evidence or scientific evidence of DNA at the time against him, which is really the biggest reason I would have said not to convict Michael. So, do you agree with the outcome? So, I don't initially agree with the outcome of Michael being given life in prison. I think the prosecution's case was lacking and there was many holes in it, and I feel like I would have never been able to be convinced 100%, no doubt about it, that this was the guy. And if you're going to convict someone and give them life, you need to be beyond reasonable doubt that it's them. But I did agree, obviously, with the outcome in the very end that he was exonerated because DNA proved that he was innocent. So some current reform to prevent wrongful convictions right now that we have, going on that we see today is interrogations should be recorded. So in this case, Ken Anderson couldn't have hidden this testimony if it was recorded and they had, video evidence of every single thing that Eric said. We also have improved access to DNA testing, which I think is really important, especially we know a lot of times now that, like, in cases where someone's wrongly convicted, DNA usually is what's going to save them. And we have stricter protocols for eyewitness investigations, which also is a very important part because we know a lot of times eyewitness people are who they bring to the stand and who's going to either make or break your case. So that's very important to also have more strict protocols to make sure they have the right person. And lastly, what I learned from Michael Morton. So I learned that a lot of times innocent people feel like if they tell the truth and, like, be completely honest with the police, they'll be treated as a guilty person, but that's not true at all, which kind of makes me almost not even, like, trust the police. And why would you want to be honest if they're not going to believe you anyway and end up convicting you for 25 years? I also learned that the criminal justice system in some cases can just be, a race for prosecutors to, like, quickly convict someone, even if they might know the person's innocent, just to, like, make them look better and, get a lot of press. This was obviously, like, a pretty big case. Prosecutors also, like I said, just kind of want to rack up as many wins as they can get, and sometimes this ends with innocent people being locked up for 25 years when the person was innocent the whole time. And lastly, I believe that if you in any way or some way have this feeling that someone is innocent, I believe that they should be fought for and you should fight for them.